Hello, party people. It's your boy Dre, back once again. I'm back with my boy Steve, back once again.
Back? I never left.
That deserves the count laugh.
No, man, sorry, you caught me off guard there. I was not ready for a count laugh. There, that bit closer.
Okay. I think that's good enough. We're going to do a good old Nintendo Switch Online roundup. Anyone who's listened to our previous creative endeavor knows that we would occasionally do run-throughs of the games available on the various Nintendo Switch Online apps. And we like to read the full names because they're funny.
I'm not going to do a marathon of them right now.
No, I will not. I am going to say a couple right now, though, because since the introduction of Nintendo 64, Nintendo Switch Online, and Sega Genesis, Nintendo Switch Online, would we say this is October 19?
It was October 21. No, 22. We just got these last year.
21. What the fuck am I saying? Why did I say 19? I went the before times for some reason.
No, it was the magical time when it was just Nintendo Switch, Nintendo Entertainment System, Nintendo Switch Online, and Super Nintendo Entertainment System, Nintendo Switch Online. And we were a lot happier back then. La 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 la.
I mean, maybe, but not for that reason. But anyway, since October 21, we haven't really gotten to do one of these on Fine Time. We've been in the background, always, we play a lot of these games as me and Steve are wont to do. And now, with this last Direct, when they shadow dropped Game Boy Nintendo Switch Online and Game Boy Advance Nintendo Switch Online, we felt we were long overdue because, we've kept this around for a while. It's like, okay, we'll just stockpile some games we've been playing for a while. But with the Game Boy stuff, Steve, I think it is high time.
Oh, we're past high time, especially with the fairly erratic release schedules of these things. I used to be able to time these on a chart, and well, not a real chart, but it would scare Andre. Then I'd be like, where I would just look out the imaginary Fine Time window and be like, it's about time for another drop. And then Andre would be all, Steve, what the fuck are you talking about? And then they would be all, yeah, and then we'd get those few more games, and I used to be able to calculate that on my own somehow.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's Rain Man, whatever power you want to call it, but I mean,
I don't have those powers anymore, thanks to all these extra apps and the expansion pass. That really fucked things up.
Yeah, especially with the release schedule is like very shruggy shoulders whenever. But that's fine. Also, so full disclosure, we don't know exactly when this is going to air yet, probably in March, but we are recording this on February 22nd. 2023. So if anything crazy has happened since that time, it's not going to be in this podcast. Unless it's something, Steve, like so wild we have to talk about it, we'll tack it on to the end of this podcast.
Like, say, if everyone's somehow right and, guys, Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow got announced at the Pokemon Presents, and it's got trading and shit. Well, we'll have to really come in and briefly address that, however briefly, but
will we, though? I mean, like, I feel like Pokemon's a known entity. Actually, that's a good segue to what I want to say. If you never listened to one of these, what we try to do is dig in the trenches here. We're not going to sit here and talk to you about, like, Mario Kart 64 or something like that. Like, we want to really explore what's on these apps, because the whole reason why we started doing this is because there's so much good stuff on here that people just ignore, because it's like, where's Chrono Trigger? Or, like,
hey, Andre, have you ever heard of a little known gem called The Legend of Zelda, the Ocarina of Time?
No, never tell me about it. It sounds like something I dislike.
Anyway,
yeah. So, like, we're gonna get off the beaten path here. We're not gonna sit here and talk to you about like Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga or some shit. So, all right, I guess I'll kick this off. This is something we've both been playing, and it's Dig Dug 2. And gamer confession time right up front here. I don't really like Dig Dug that much. Out of all the Namco classics, it's not something I've ever really liked. But I like Dig Dug 2 a lot. It's a completely different game if everyone's familiar with Dig Dug, but if you never played the sequel, it's like this top-down, you still have the drill, you're still Taizo Hori, as we know that his name is now, and you drill off these big sections of a island.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you drop the guys in the ocean, and that's it. It's kind of great. It's much more engaging to me than the original. Totally different game.
Yeah, I like this game a lot. It was actually in the I keep calling it the Namcot pack, but it was something else. They made two of them. That was all the NES games that they put out, and this was on there. And they put this out and Mappy World on the shop, and I feel like with this you're almost giving away the cow because this is one of the better games on the packs.
Yeah, but there ain't no Dragon Spirit on Nintendo Switch Online. There's a lot of gems on there. But
for the low price of included with your subscription, everyone should play Dig Dug too.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me get into another one here. Contra Hardcore is on Sega Genesis, Nintendo Switch Online, as it should be. And my history with this game is a little weird because, one, I didn't really play it back in the day. Two, I've never really given Contra 3 on Super Nintendo much of a chance. Like, I never had it myself. And whenever I played it at friends' houses, I was kind of like, whatever. And I could never really figure out why it didn't gel with me. So I busted out the SNES Classic and I decided to give it a go on there. And sorry, gamer confession number 2, I don't really like Contra 3 that much. Like, it's weirdly paced. It's kind of annoyingly difficult, too. I get it. You're probably supposed to turn it down to easy and jack up the lives to 7 or whatever, but, like, it's the only Contra game I play where I feel like I actually die and it's not my fault. It's like, okay, well, how was I supposed to know that was going to happen? It's like some serious Cuphead shit happening sometimes in there. So it's like, Contra 3 is, like, great for Mode 7 tricks and not that great to play, in my opinion. Before I go on, though, Steve, what do you think of Contra 3? Has that ever been something that you've really liked?
I actually liked Contra 3 until, I don't really hate it, but I did try playing it and this side by side when we were first drafting this up. And I forgot how obnoxious the Mode 7 shit got toward the end. Because I don't get motion sick easy, but I was like, I almost needed a barf bag toward the end, and I was getting my ass kicked anyway. So I don't know. Enough was enough, and eventually, yes, I did have to eventually concede to Andre on the finished games thread that we both curate on our Twitter accounts. That yes, Contra is better on Genesis than on Super Nintendo. I still owe the man a Pepsi or whatever he prefers down the line.
I prefer a Pepsi. Come on now. I'm a Pepsi man. I am Pepsi man.
Part of that is not having to deal with obnoxious Mode 7 scenes, and part of that is also there's a werewolf dog man guy that you get to play as.
In Contra Hardcore, yeah, the selectable characters. Well, that's where I want to go. Like, Contra Hardcore is a real deal. Contra 3 never really did it for me as like a 16-bit Contra experience. Contra Hardcore does. Selectable characters. The Wolfman is the best, right? We already blew the surprise, obviously. There's so many cool little like cutscenes and set piecey things that would, obviously make the SNES catch on fire if they tried to do it. So in lieu of Mode 7 on Genesis, they do their own tricks. It's the best Contra experience from this era, if you ask me. The Genesis has the better Contra and Castlevania. Sorry.
And
it's just true.
And this is where I gotta say you're full of shit, because I just conceded Contra for everyone to hear. But Castlevania Bloodlines, no.
Okay.
I can't. And you know what? No, it's not that it's bad, because I did play this game on the app and on the Castlevania collection, and I had a nice, lovely time on both playthroughs. I did one as American Whip guy, and the other one as European Spear guy. I forget their names right now. It's like, let's just introduce more new people in a series that already has too many people in the first place.
I think Whipman is a Morris. Jonathan Morris. I think we tried to figure this out when we were talking about Dracula last year. But I think he is a Morris, yeah.
Yes, I did have fun with both, and the spear is a fun change of pace, and as opposed to the whip in a time before we had other options introduced in the search action times, although The bosses get kind of stupid. I mean, the second mid boss is just a wizard who fills a pool of water. Oh no, I'm drowning. If I don't stab you fast enough, I'm going to drown myself to death. I'm hunting all of these monsters and things, and this will be my end. I'm going to drown in a fountain. Come on. This isn't the first Castlevania. Do better.
Is that, well, I mean, speaking of which, is it any stupider than a big bat? I don't know. Like, it's
a little stupider than a big bat. And I mean,
okay.
I mean, the big bat is trying. This guy is just wasting water and is hoping you'll pay for it. I mean, you're going to drive up the utility bill by turning on the sink all night? I mean, you're going to call that a boss?
I mean, some people might.
I don't know. It's good. I liked Castlevania Bloodlines, but it's not Castlevania 4. It's not.
What is it that you like about 4? So, besides Mode 7 tricks or whatever, like, I just think, first of all, like, Super Castlevania 4 is just too fucking long. There's just too many stages. It goes on forever. You start getting to, like, Stage B and Stage C of the castle. It's like, okay, already. You don't think it's too much?
I mean, it can be, but if you really want Castlevania, it's right there for you.
Is it the 8-way whipping? Like, what does it do for you? Like,
it does all those things, and I mean, it's fine, and I mean, I don't always need it, and although it is kind of funny to just have it dangling there, blocking projectile.
That is,
yeah, I got a whip.
I love killing things like that take like 12 hits or whatever because it's so weak to kill stuff that way. But look, I don't mean to say that I hate Super Castlevania 4, but to me it has issues, and I think like Bloodlines is just a much tighter, better experience. 6 stages, 2 characters, in and out of there. You don't even have to do both characters. I don't think they're significantly different enough experience. The music is killer. The music is killer on both. I mean, I'm not trying to diss on Super Castlevania 4, but I mean, come on. Like, I don't know. For me, for my money, it's Bloodlines. But
other than, Public Utilities Wizard, it's a solid experience.
It's got to be more than solid.
It's great. It's wonderful. It's stupendous. It's other adjectives I didn't think I needed to use until right now.
Don't patronize me, okay? How dare you patronize me on Fine Time?
Oh, okay. What is this now?
All right. So I guess we can move on from our lover's spat. So I played a little bit of Fire and Ice actually just last night for the first time. And the only reason why I know what this game is because Nintendo Power spammed it all the time because it was 1993. There weren't really any NES games coming out, or very few at this time. So it's just kind of like, well, we got this Fire and Ice. You may as well just keep showing it off. And, it's a pretty basic single screen puzzle game where you just sort of create and erase and slide ice blocks around to put out the fire, aka Fire and Ice. That's literally all there is to it. But what I didn't pick up on until years later is that it's a sequel to Solomon's Key. Because when it came out on Nintendo Switch Online, I was like, I noticed the similarities, and obviously it's made by Tecmo. But I was like, is it really Yeah, it is. In Japan, this is Solomon's Key too. So, okay, I guess.
I never picked up on that until this came out because how I know Fire and Ice, I never read this particular issue of Nintendo Power, these issues of Nintendo Power. I guess this was before I had a sub and my library might have never got these. I know Fire and Ice because it costs way too fucking much on eBay. It's one of those games.
Why do people want Fire and Ice so bad?
Because it has a low... It's like you said a second ago. It's late NES, very late NES. So they didn't make so many.
But it's not that good. I guess that doesn't really have anything to do with value, huh? Jesus Christ, I don't understand this market.
No, I don't. And then I'm finally playing. Oh boy, what will $450 on eBay get me? A sliding block game? I mean, come on. And then you're going to call it Solomon's Key 2? I mean, thank God you didn't do that here, because then you might have actually tempted some people to buy that the NES 2 just to play it, and then there would have been some angry letters.
I would have probably been interested in the Solomon's Key 2. I mean, I wouldn't, maybe not interested enough to like in 1993 to ask for like an NES game in the SNES era, because I was not about that life. But, you know, I would have been like, oh, I like Solomon's Key. There's a sequel. Wow. And then I would have got it. And it's like, well, this sucks. Well, the game doesn't suck. It's just that, like, this doesn't really deserve to be associated with Solomon's Key. It's just so basic.
I don't even know if this was worth, like, the $5 I would have paid for on Virtual Console. It's just so nothing. It's like an element of a bigger game. And then you're trying to sell this to people in 1993 or whatever.
You know the part in Batten Kaitos where you have to do the Tower Jiraga stage thing? Yeah. Imagine if that was just a whole game. It's like, well, that wasn't very exciting. It's like, okay. Tell the audience how you speed ran Earthbound Beginnings for no fucking reason when it came out on Nintendo Switch Online, and I have no idea. Like, I mean, you're like, well, this and this about the game. Like, dude, what are you talking about? And how do you even know how to do this? Are you in the Earthbound Beginnings speedrunning community?
Steve is not in the Earthbound Beginnings speedrun community. Steve did play the game on Wii U back in 2015 when they put it out on that. You know, what the thing that's about to go up in smoke real soon. And yes, it came out, and I figured, you know what? I'm going to play these games in order right away. Because when it comes to my favorite game series of all time, I'm going to drop everything I'm doing and play these. So for that next day, like literally day, I think the thing had me logged in for like 13 hours-ish of having Earthbound Beginnings on the screen. I just played the game. I remembered most of the story beats I needed to do already, and there's a bunch you could just skip that are really just them giving you hints. It's very Dragon Quest 1-ish in that you can, if you know where to go, there's things you can just go and do and move ahead with. But all of that said, it's still very much a proof of concept for Earthbound. Everyone that's interested should give it a look. It's a miracle it's here, since we didn't even get it the first time, despite it being fully done. But even with all the improvements made over the Japanese version, it's still rough to play all the way through. Even though, yes, I did do it in a day, and I probably shouldn't have, and I do need some help.
Okay, as long as you admit that. I mean, that's all I really wanted from this segment.
I mean, everyone should play Earthbound. I mean, you all begged for it, so you should all play it.
Yeah, they don't play games. They beg for games, and then they like pretend they care. That's what the whole like 3DS and Wii U eShops going down thing is all about. People pretending they care about Mysterious Castle of Muramasa or something. It's like, no, you fucking don't.
I cared about it. That's why I bought it when it came out.
I bought it too in 2000. What was it? Black Friday 2016. I got the 3DS. Yeah, I got it. Okay, I did my part. But a game we can actually play right now that isn't going away in an eShop is Shinobi 3. And I crossed this off my list. This was something I had on Virtual Console and I loved back in the day, but I never beat it. And I always wanted to. I just didn't quite have, I don't know, the aptitude, fortitude, attitude. I didn't have a tude enough to beat it back then. But on Sega Genesis and Nintendo Switch Online, I was like, you know what? I need to just rectify this mistake I made back then. And I'm very glad I did, because what a fantastic game. This is the best Shinobi game, personally. Like front to back, tip-top action the whole time, platforming, double jumping, like environmental stuff that is excellent. It's very 90s now, but it works. There's set pieces where you're jumping up a waterfall and stuff. It's great stuff. It has the right amount of difficulty. It's tough, and it never feels cheap, never feels bad to play. Oh, that's like, oh man, that sucks or whatever. There's no moments like that in this game. It's a real workout, like I said, but anyone who's never played Shinobi 3, just hearty recommendation from me.
I'm not as familiar with Shinobi as you, but I did play this finally. I do need to push back at the end because I feel like the boss felt like the end boss felt like it did whatever it wanted. It just kept kicking my ass again and again. But then there was just one time where I said, you know what? I don't give a fuck. And I just ran in and just started stabbing him to death, and he was down in 10 seconds. So I really don't know what happened in that last segment. I'm pretty sure I put the video up on Twitter.
You did. You went goblin mode on him somehow. I don't know how you did that.
I just ripped him apart, and I don't understand how. But this is also a game where they tried to hide Mechagodzilla in a temple, and there was also a part where we were fighting a submarine robot on my surfboard. So, you know, this is 90s as fuck, and everyone should play it.
You know, yes, that was great. That stuff was great, but going back to what you were saying about cheesing the boss, I have beaten Ninja Gaiden on NES once. Exactly once. I've never been able to do it again. Not on Wii Virtual Console, not on anything. The NES game, I just had that one clairvoyant moment when I was a kid and I beat the last boss, and I've never been able to do that again. That might be your thing with Shinobi 3. You may never be able to actually, well, now you can because we can cheat, but you know what I mean? Like if you try to do it legit, that may have just been your one shot. Speaking
of things I never thought I'd be able to play legit, Mega Man Wily Wars is on here. I know they've tried throwing that on, even Ad Games tried throwing that on pretend consoles for a while, but this was one of those Sega TV exclusives for a while. Sorry, Sega Channel exclusives.
I like Sega TV better.
Yeah, I do too. That's probably why I said it. I never played it, but footage was all over the place for years. And again, I was not just buying a Sega Mini for this. I feel like the real star of the show here is Wily's Tower, and I kind of wish there was an SP version that just let me play that, given all the other times I played, you know, Mega Man 1 through 3 over the years. But I enjoyed my time with them, but these were just very okay versions of better games.
I wouldn't say that. I think, like, if you have only played them on Wily Wars, I don't think that's, like, a detriment. I don't think they're worse than the NES. They may be superfluous, but that's like saying the All-Stars versions or like the NES versions are better than the All-Star. Like, I don't feel that way.
In particular, I felt the soundtrack felt oddly muted for the Genesis. Like, I was expecting them to really rock out those tunes for this, but it felt like they lowered the volume and just, hey, relax with Mega Man 1 through 3.
But see, I think that's what I think that was intentional. Like they were trying to SNES style it, because I think Capcom was trying to avoid the Genesis twang.
I just feel like this could have used some Genesis twang if this was the Genesis, the direction you were going to take this in.
If that was the genesis of your idea. I'm not really interested in the Wily Tower stuff. That kind of like extra mode things, especially Mega Man, never really interest me. So I was here just to play the 3 games, which I did before. You know, the compare and contrasting points are too numerous really to get into, but it was interesting. And again, I definitely don't feel you are lesser off for playing these if you never played NES, personally.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure a lot of it also has to do with me, you know, a lot of how that feels committed to memory on the NES versus the Genesis. Like, just the way it feels, one versus the other.
Sure. So, okay, I have also been playing Kururin. So this is, you know, one of those Game Boy Advance games we didn't get in its early days. I guess there was a Wii U Virtual Console version, but in my opinion, that may as well have not ever existed at all, because Wii U. I know that's how you played it, but sorry.
Well, when we only got that because Europe got it, and they're like, oh shit, we need a thing this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, apparently, yeah, one of those Japan-Europe deals. Man, one of these days, we're going to really go in. I could do a whole podcast on how awful Nintendo of America's localization choices were in the 2000s, starting with Game Boy Advance, and of course, culminating in Xenoblade. But you know what I mean? Like, it just built the whole decade. But anyway, that's another topic. Kururin was one of those that didn't come here, but I'm playing it now and I really like it. So, Steve, maybe you can help me parse this. People don't really talk about this as a genre enough, maybe because it's not a genre at all. But I love games that feel like an elaborate, like, real life toy, like something you could do for real, like, or otherwise play it on a board, not like a board game where you roll dice and stuff, but think like Marble Madness, or the Taito game Camel Tree, or like the SNES version of On the Ball, right? Like where you twist it. Yeah. Not board. Again, board game sounds wrong, but
no, but there's toy element to this where it feels like if there were enough, if Nintendo was able to, put on their old toy company hat, they could make a board game version of Kururin and try and sell that to the people. It feels that way. Not necessarily that they could, but it almost feels like it has a toy quality to it.
Yeah. But are the games that I'm mentioning, does that make any sense to you? It feels like a type of game.
Yeah, I don't know what I'd call it, but it's a similar quality to those.
Yeah. Okay, but I don't know. I really like this game. Twisty, turny through a maze. Don't touch the sides, right? I have put up mini videos on my Twitter feed of me dying in spectacular ways.
If we had that kind of video recording on Wii U, I would have had a very similar thread back then. Believe me.
Oh man, just trying to thread those needles, man, with that twisting, turning helicopter. Just a very fun, simple game. I have no idea why they didn't want to bring it here before. I'm glad it's here now.
There were 3 of these, and one of them was on GameCube, and that version was like, you know what, they didn't give a fuck. Use your Game Boy Advance as a controller if you want, and that's we obviously didn't get that one either, and I don't even think Europe got the second one. If we're going to play the second one, and I'm sure we will eventually, it's going to be on Japanese Game Boy Advance, Nintendo Switch Online. But yeah, everyone should play that and crash their blue helicopter into the wall a bunch.
Yeah, that's basically how it's going to go. It's very fun. One more in the sort of upfront section before we get to other stuff. I have been playing Super Mario Advance 4, Super Mario Bros. 3, but not really, right? I'm there for the e-reader levels, which is included in pretty much any digital version of this game these days, I think.
All 2 of them.
Okay, I guess that would only be it.
One of which is about to go away very soon. So they very deliberately picked which games to launch with on Game Boy Advance, Nintendo Switch Online.
You really think so? Because, like, how many people out there are hanging on a Wii U? Like, you don't even have that fucking thing hooked up, right? It's not like people really give that much of a shit.
I'm not saying I had it. I don't even think I bought this on there because I had things on there. I'm just saying they can point right at this and say, well, get a subscription.
Yeah, I guess so. So I'm here for the e-reader levels, obviously, not really playing Mario 3 again, because there's a million probably better ways to do that than Mario Advance. But these e-reader levels, they're fine. Like, I wasn't expecting to add so many elements from like Mario 2, such as like picking up and throwing vegetables, like that's in here. There's all sorts of weird little bits of Mario history in here, and I guess I just kind of wanted more like a Lost Levels approach of like a level pack that felt like in universe, if you will, with Mario 3. And what's in these e-reader levels, they feel like more like Mario Maker levels, which, hey, I'm the biggest Mario Maker head there is, right? That's totally okay with me. I guess I just wanted something a little more authentic.
I mean, there was a card in one of the cards we did get. There were actually a handful we didn't get. So having all this in the digital set is the most complete we'll ever get it. But there was one card in the set that just lets you slap all the Mario 2 elements into the base game. And I'm trying to figure out if that's even in this, if they tucked that in one of the houses in the E-World or whatever there. It wasn't authentic, but in 2003, when I've played, and you've certainly played, the Super Mario Brothers 3 game a bazillion times, it is certainly it wasn't authentic, but it was a very, new way to play the game.
Yeah, I'm sure it was much more novel at its time. Yeah, you're correct. Like whenever, 2003 or whatever,
yep.
We didn't have stuff like Mario Maker. Sure, I guess it would be a lot more interesting. But like I said, I'm not enjoying them. Maybe I'll warm up to them a little bit after a while, I think.
You just gotta give it a chance.
I have. I played a whole bunch of them. Okay? Jeez. God. Okay, we're going to take a break and we're going to come back and talk about some of the import stuff you can play on the Japanese apps. Be right back. Back, and we're here to talk about drugs. Now we're here to talk about the import games you could play on Nintendo Switch Online. So just in case you don't know, there is no sorcery involved in getting like a Japanese account on Switch. All you do is go to Nintendo.com, make a new account. And when they ask you your country, just choose, I'm from Japan, and boom, you have a Japanese account. That's it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's very easy to do. The hoops I had to jump through to get a PSN account in Japanese, Steve, holy shit. I tell you what.
Yeah, I've heard stories. It doesn't sound good.
No, it's so tough. But Nintendo, just choose Japan. You got it. And this goes for anything. If you want a European account, just choose UK or something. Have you ever bought anything on a European account? I haven't had to yet, but
I have had I've got a few physical games from Europe, so I needed to tell them that's where my play coins were from. So I think I got some cheapo games with gold coins for that. I couldn't tell you which ones.
Probably like a Arcade Archives or two or something, probably.
Probably.
So we're just going to talk about some of the games and just stuff you can see on that Japanese side. One of them is StarFox 64. Yeah, StarFox 64. Everyone knows what that is, but it's in Japanese if you go to the Japanese Nintendo 64 app, and it's funny, okay? Like, it's just straight up funny. We're so used to our very quotable English voice acting in StarFox 64. Go play the Japanese one sometime. It's a trip.
Yeah, I saw this when you were doing the notes. I'm like, well, now I gotta go try it. And I gotta say, of all the N64 games I've played, I've probably played this one the most. And yes, it's very funny. And I did have a bit of a disconnect on Macbeth, though. You know Macbeth, they got the train, step on the gas. Here you go.
That's right.
So, I guess the answer is subdued. He is in the Japanese version. So even when I'm shooting the switches and he's about to blow up the train, I didn't really feel the energy versus step on the brake. I can't stop it. If he was quietly resigning himself to his fate, that's funny too, but I don't understand Japanese, so that was lost on me.
Yeah, I haven't done Macbeth in Japanese, so that was that'll be funny when I get there. It sounds funny. Do you remember what they said instead of cocky little freaks?
Man, I didn't quite understand it, but what did they say?
No, I thought maybe you not what did they say? That was the wrong question, but like the inflection wasn't as like.
I mean, everything else felt appropriate and funny. I mean, I got my full disclosure. I got my ass kicked. It was late. It was a late night, so I got my ass kicked at the rebuilt Starwolf ships, which was weird. Which no, I didn't fight the first Starwolf ships, but they make you fight the second ones anyway. You know how it is when you go do the full route, and they beat my ass. And
they're not easy. I mean, that is definitely not an easy section.
But that was appropriate too. But again, bit of a disconnect because can't let you do that, StarFox. it is not here, and you're just used to hearing it every time.
Yeah, so if you've never played Star Fox 64 in Japanese, you can do so very easily. I want to talk about Rushing Beat just super fast, just because it has this really dramatic intro. It's Rushing Beat is Rival Turf on our side, but in Japan it's called Rushing Beat, and it has this really dramatic intro, like final fight, and like completely different main character names. It's really weird to see. I don't know why they cut that stuff. Maybe because they didn't want to translate the text, but.
Is this the one we tried playing online and we ended up in a loop until we found out the Japanese version didn't do that bullshit?
No.
Because I feel like one of these games did that.
I don't feel like we did. I would never, if we were going to play something online, I would never waste our time playing Rushing fucking Beat. Like, I would never do that to us. So, we'd play a real beat 'em up if we're going to do that. If you feel like it, on Mega Drive, Nintendo Switch Online, Japan, you could go play Puyo Puyo instead of Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine if you really want, I guess.
It's the one difference between the two accounts. I'm just surprised. I always check every time they do an update. Like, well, certainly this time there'll be an update. They're not going to give Japan Earthworm Jim. They gave Japan Earthworm Jim.
Mm-hmm. Sure did. I think it has our box art too, which is like really funny.
No, it doesn't have our box art because Takara published it only for Super Nintendo in Japan. They didn't have it on the Genesis, so they didn't, or Mega Drive. So they just did the thing where they just throw the title screen on.
Oh, like on our side we have Zero Wing.
Yes.
Because it's just a title screen.
Why don't they just throw in Japanese boxes? I kind of like looking at those.
Yeah. I wish they would. Wave Race 64, go play the Japanese version because it has Rumble. If you don't know, Wave Race 64 and Mario 64 were re-released in Japan with Rumble pack support. So those versions are on the Japanese side if that's something you want to try.
I mean, no new commentary on Wave Race, but I do find it weird that we had 2 gens of the Kawasaki branding replaced with Nintendo billboards, but now we're back to it being a Kawasaki ad.
Yeah, I forgot that they took that away at some point because before Nintendo 64, Nintendo Switch Online, I hadn't played Wave Race since I rented it back in the day for the actual system. So I didn't really see the changes throughout the years.
And when Wave Race Blue Storm just stood on its own, they didn't bother with advertising concerns.
Are you sure? I feel like there was some stuff in there. Maybe not. Okay, I mean, maybe I'm wrong.
If they did, it was more subtle because I still got the box line around where it says Wave Race 64 Kawasaki Jet Ski.
Yep. It was a big deal. So we want to talk about some games that we actually dug into, some different shit for a little bit. So one of them, Steve, is...
Yeah, Umihara Kawase. Now, we've been getting more of these recently. It's you probably, if you're following different accounts, it's the girl with the fishing rod that just shows up and like, yeah, this was her first game. And it's weird doing, I guess you'd call it puzzle platforming with giant fish monsters and things where you have to, you don't really jump or climb things as much as try and negotiate the physics of your very wonky fishing rod to get to where you need to go. And it's either you're going to have a lot of fun or you're going to chuck your Switch across the room. And, both options are valid. But, weird stuff like this is kind of why I like having that Super Famicom Nintendo Switch Online app.
Yeah, I think you like this more than me, but I did not dislike this at all. I wasn't sure about it at first. Like, I'm usually not into puzzle platforming with this strong of a gimmick, and it's not exactly my art style either, my kind of art, but after a little bit of playing, I got its vibe. It's really chill, it's soothing, catchy music even, and like strange atmosphere. It feels like, you don't usually literally think about like the blocks in space when you're like playing a platform or anything like it. But in this game, you do. It really feels like the blocks are in the world. Does that make any sense?
Yes, it's all it's very deliberate.
Yeah.
Because it's not a natural world that she's in. She's opening doors into the next room, which is more of the exact same, but very similar. It's like she's in her own personal hellscape, which I guess she gets to live on and do more fishing rod nonsense in the ensuing years.
Yeah, it's a weird vibe. Like you said, it's dreamscapey, and all the blocks are over the sea. It almost feels like a Breath of the Wild thing where you're doing something over the water, and it's like this feels kind of surreal. You know what I mean? It's strange, but that's how it feels. Yeah, if you're adventurous, go ahead and turn on Super Famicom, Nintendo Switch Online, and give this a go. It's a fun little game. Another thing I also played on Super Famicom, Nintendo Switch Online, is Bokujo Monogatari, or Harvest Moon, if you will. The original Harvest Moon is on there, not on our side, but on there. Or Story of Seasons, if you will, nowadays.
Oh, it's a fucking mess. I would be very interested to see if this ever is allowed to come out on our side. It's a whole mess, but long story short, Natsume has been using the name Harvest Moon to just turn out garbage for the past decade, while the real Harvest Moon games are still being made by Marvelous, are being called Story of Seasons, to the point where even Game Boy Advance and GameCube remakes are being called Story of Seasons, whatever the original game was called. Mm-hmm. So if we ever get this, we may well end up with a Kablooey Bomboozle situation. Don't play it. Don't play that game. But
Don't play that
game. But it's a very good example of what we might be ending up dealing with. But how are you dealing with that? It's not a lot of reading, as I remember, but there's some reading for you to deal with.
It's a fair amount of reading, but it's easy stuff. My Japanese is kind of now not just crappy enough where I can eke out games like Harvest Moon. I can get by. I had never played one before, actually. I've never played a Harvest Moon. It's the first time I ever tried one, and it was in my, I shouldn't say second language because I can't really speak it, but you know what I mean. A language I'm learning. So it was a weird experience, but it's a cool little world. I get why people like these. Go to town, see all the friends and neighbors and the memorable people, and go back to your farm and farm. I get the loop. I don't think I'll really sit down and play the whole thing just because it's not my type of game I really stick with, but it was certainly fun to try out. I totally get why people like Harvest Moon.
You hear that? He's throwing us a bone. all of us weird farm game weirdos.
Yeah, farm it up. It's fine. It just doesn't do it for me. But
speaking of things that I need to read, all of us in the fandom have been calling this particular game Kirby Superstar Stacker for years. Now, I know it's not really called that, is it?
No, it's called Kirby Kira Kira Kizu. Kids? I don't know.
What does that roughly translate to in English?
I don't know.
if this roughly translates to Kirby Superstar Stacker, I'm gonna fly over there and
I can assure you that is not the case. Okay, but anyway, I've only played this on Game Boy because that was the only version that was here. I didn't have that back in the day, but I did buy the Game Boy version on a 3DS Virtual Console, so I'm familiar with it. I'm sorry I didn't have time to get around to this version, but tell us about it.
But really, I also played the Game Boy version on Virtual Console. Look, I was like 9. I don't have all the money in the world to buy every $30 game there was on Game Boy. Come on. But I could throw a few bucks on 3DS Virtual Console, and I thought it was pretty neat. And really, this is more of the same, but with a similar color palette to Dreamland 3, that, painted look. But sometimes with a puzzle game, you just need that fresh coat of paint. And it's fun doing that sandwichy gameplay with the stars and the Kirby's Animal Friends trademark. Remember them? The Animal Friends that everyone had in the 90s?
Oh, yeah. Who's your favorite? I like the hamster.
Yeah, Rick's the best.
Really? Okay. I thought you were going to say the bird. I don't know why.
Which one? Well, Koo, but then then the 3 also had Pitch, the small one.
No, the one that looks like Pidgeotto.
They were not very great with the names. They named Rick, and then they're like, "Oh shit, what are these other ones? What are we going to name these other ones?"
Okay, so we are hamster likers. Okay, go on. Or is that it?
No, that was it. But that's the thing. It's fine to do that. You can get through the menus easily enough, and it's easier to play. You can actually play with your friend on this one. And it's not Panel Upon or Tetris Attack, which was already on here and is on here in 2 different ways now with Pokemon Puzzle League, but it's still fun to play, especially now on the Super Famicom app. I was like, this was on a come on, put this on here segment until they finally did fucking put this on here.
That's something I got to go look, because I know Pokemon Puzzle League only came out here. So I got to look on the Japanese app to see if what they have there.
It did not. Only we get Pokemon Puzzle League and Dr. Mario 64.
Yeah, those only came out here. But I guess they got, like, because of that GameCube collection, I think they used Dr. Mario 64 assets to, like...
Yeah, and there was supposed to be a Penelope for N64, but that got canceled. They used that as the base to make Puzzle League. I'm just trying to imagine a Japanese person doing this import stuff we're doing, like doing their own podcast. Like, the English dub for Pokemon is so effed up, you guys.
You know what, though?
You can't switch it to Japanese. Nintendo Software Technology tried their best. They shoved an FMV. They shoved some FMVs in there. That's very impressive for the cartridge.
Yes, they did, actually. And I love NST. Two, that those kind of like 90s cozy dubs like Sailor Moon and stuff like that. I always like those. Anyway, so another thing I played on here, I guess, Steve, you didn't really mess around with this, was Custom Robo.
No, I didn't play this version, but I did play the GameCube and DS versions a lot.
So, look, this game is fucking K enough where, like, if it actually did come out here at the time, I would have been pretty taken with it. You know, I would have enjoyed it for what it was. Nowadays, though, the battles feel shallow as a kiddie pool. Like, Virtual On, this is not. And not that I expected it to be, but, like, it doesn't even feel as put together as, like, Robo Pit. You remember Robo Pit for PS1?
No.
Oh yeah, it's like a nobody. Don't worry about it. Nobody does. It's like this robot fighting game where it's like you're ranked like at the bottom 100, and you have to get all the way up to rank 1 by like beating the robots above you. And it's just like, it's such a weird game where you just, okay, on my left arm, I'm going to put a boxing glove. On my right arm, I'm going to put like a spear or something. And you go fight the other robots. It's very rudimentary, but that's kind of what this reminded me of. But I don't know. I had more fun playing Robo Pit than Custom Robo. It's not that Custom Robo is bad. It's just very, I usually don't say this, and I'm sorry, it kind of sounds like a pejorative, but it's for kids. It has this like shonen anime plot, like very easy peasy dialogue. So easy, even I can read it. Like, it's clearly meant for Japanese children, you know?
I remember you sending me pics of the IRL scenes in the game, and I'm like, oh no.
Yeah,
oh,
you
no.
know, it is what it is. It's fine. It's just, I'm probably not the audience anymore for that kind of thing. You don't really have to go to the Japanese Nintendo 64 app for this, but we do have Sin and Punishment. It has resurfaced.
Yeah, it's kind of cheating because Nintendo's been trotting this horse out as, hey, it's an import game we didn't release originally. Give us extra money for it. And they just gave it to us right from the get-go on here. Although for us, they decided to give us an Americanized box art, and that turned me off. Remember that? And all they really did for that was take an element of the Japanese box art and just throw it horizontally. Yeah, everyone will love that. And that's some bullshit because... it's probably one of my favorite N64 games. It's very, it's a treasure joint, although Nintendo publishes. So you know what we're in for? We're in for very difficult shooty. Storyline is the stuff of legends because even though this was released in Japan only, there's only an English voice track with Japanese subtitles. And it's very, very special.
It is incredible. Me and Vin have been saying good morning IRN to each other for like God knows how long, probably since it came out on Virtual Console. What was that, 2007? Yeah. So like yeah, that's like one of our favorite stupid line reads in a game.
It's a bit difficult to play with a more traditional controller. This is where I might say if you have a GameCube controller lying around, maybe play with that.
It was impossible with the Wii Classic controller. Like, forget it. Like, absolutely forget it.
I had an easier time playing with the Pro controller, but playing it handheld was rough, no matter which of the configurations I chose. But if you can get around all that, I still think this is a lot of fun. One of the more interesting games that have popped up on the N64 side.
Okay, so that was that closed out our import section, if you will. Go explore, everybody. If you have a Nintendo Switch Online account, go make a Japanese account. It takes like 2 seconds, and get on there and download those apps. It's costing you nothing extra. You know, go ahead and try them. people always, I don't know about you, people always ask me for game recommends because I play all the games on here, and it's like, dog, I don't know your tastes. I really don't know what to say, right? So it always feels tough for me to give recommends. All I can really say is games that I really enjoy. We have a few recommends here. I have a few, you have a few, but let's start with you. We'll go back and forth. We'll start with one of yours.
Yeah, because, I'm just going to fuck everyone up with Psycho Dream right off the bat. We didn't get this in North America originally, but they did see fit to give it to you anyway. You don't need to turn on your Super Famicom account for this one. You go through a bunch of very odd stages as either guy character or girl character that needs to rescue other girl character. There's a story that they try to tell you, but I can't read it. And
you don't need to. It's better this way.
Yeah, it's much better if you can't. You got a lot of trippy visuals, and I have a theory that I think they might have been trying to make this for the Super Nintendo PlayStation at some point, because there's a lot of interesting set pieces towards the end. That especially towards the end, it has a hard time keeping up with.
I don't know how to explain it, but it feels like a CD-ROM game, doesn't it?
It really does.
It feels like something that would be on Turbo CD.
I mean, it might even be the end boss. They have a very good 16-bit rendition of the Ave Maria for you while you're fighting the last boss. I'm like, well, if this isn't CD-ROM as fuck, I don't know what is. They dip it into the classical catalog.
I feel like they blew half the cartridge space on that. But yeah, also I like Psycho Dream a lot. We both came out of it like, dude, what the fuck? And sometimes that's like one of the best experiences you can have. So I also recommend it. This may not be something, Steve, that you recommend, because I think I like this game a lot more than you, but it's Operation Logic Bomb. This is a Jaleco top-down shooter thing on the Super Nintendo app, and I don't think I had ever heard of this game before then, but honestly, I think it's kind of great. Like, the music is incredible. You go up to these like weird little terminals and see like flashbacks of things that happened when you weren't there. So they're trying to tell you a story, but it's pretty incomprehensible. It doesn't matter though. Like the feel of it is great. I actually think this is kind of a great top-down shooter.
The game has crabs under it. That's what they were trying to tell you. Crabs all over the place. Crabs.
And not just crabs, cyber crabs.
Yeah, I guess that's right. I walked away with the impression that a different company might have been able to do what they were trying to do better, but it's not awful.
I like it a lot.
I know you like it a lot more than I do.
Yeah, I'll put it up there. I'll stick my neck out for Operation Logic Bomb. I don't know. It's over in like what, a couple hours. It's I don't know. It's a lot of fun to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, give us another recommendation.
It's another game that'll be done in I think I only spent an hour and a half on this tops. Spanky's Quest. I know. When everyone came out, ew, Spanky's Quest. I don't even know what this is, but I see a monkey on the cover, and that won't be fun. Guys.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I think that's when we both broke. Because whenever Nintendo released new SNES games on there, everyone just complained because it wasn't the two things that they said they wanted, and we just both went ballistic. Like, fuck you, motherfuckers! Play some goddamn good games for shit's sake.
You are a monkey who blows bubbles that turn into balls. Why don't
basketballs, volleyballs,
baseballs, and it's great. And you use these balls to kill enemies and beat up bosses, and it's done in a hurry, but it's a lot of stupid fun. The monkey's tripping balls. It's great. Everyone, go play Spanky's Quest right now. Like, pause, play Spanky's Quest, come back.
Yeah, I haven't really gotten into this one yet. I played a little bit, and it is good. I do want to go back and play the whole thing. I did enjoy my time with it. I want to talk about Sword of Vermillion real quick, because it doesn't seem like the type of thing that seems recommendable to a wide audience, but honestly, I think it is. It's a first-person RPG sort of dungeon game. There is town scenes where you do traditional RPG, talk to like this and that NPC from a top-down perspective, but most of the game is first-person, but it's not Phantasy Star. It's not Shining in the Darkness. You do have maps and you can find them. And even if you can't find the map, the areas are fairly small. You don't really, it's hard to get lost unless you actually really try to. Honestly, I think this game is great. It's made by AM2 for some reason. I don't know why Yu Suzuki decided to like make a game like this, but he did.
I don't think they were entirely sure how to make an RPG either, because I played this last summer, and I bought this on Virtual Console in 2007, and between life events and other things going on, I was like, okay, you know what? No. But I tried it again now, and I'm like, you know what? This isn't that bad, but I feel like they were a little confused on what an RPG was.
I feel like you don't like any of my recommendations today.
No, I like the game, but it's like you go, well, what they're like, oh shit, we're making an RPG. What's a battle? And then the one enemy shows up in front of you, and then it transitions into a scene, and then a song that I can only call the battle music boogie comes on, and you're tasked with swinging your sword around, hoping guys die fast enough.
Kawaguchi's music, Yu Suzuki is producer, and Kawaguchi on the sound is a duo that carried over to Sword of Vermillion, even though it wasn't an arcade game. And boy, you are correct. The fight scene boogie, I tell you what.
It's special.
Some of those town themes are jamming though. Like Jesus,
they spent all the music budget making town themes because, I think they spent some of the story budget making some of it on making music too, because you have nonsense like, oh no, the little girl is going to stop the king. I feel like we could have skipped this and just went on to the next town. This didn't feel.
Are you really gonna ding on the story of an RPG from 1990? Are you really like? Come on!
I don't know. Even that felt lazy to me. I don't know. It's fine.
They're all bad back then. Like that was the whole point of the Super Nintendo era. It's like, wait, we can have an interesting story. Like, holy shit, you know? Yeah. Okay, but go ahead. Give me another one of yours.
This one's a bit tougher to recommend for everyone, but Nightshade is on the NES side, and only on the NES side. It's a point-and-click game with some action elements, and boy howdy, good thing it's on this app, because there's this other weird elements going on that, you have, even though it is more point-and-click than anything else, you have a lives system where you get captured and you can escape, but after the third time, they just throw you in and carbonite and say, "Oh, that's the end of the game. Game over. That's the end of Nightshade." It's a lot of fun, but you really bring your own saves and things. I remember people really dinging on this one, and again, early YouTube times. But I'm like, you know what? This isn't that bad when you cheat.
Wow, that's like such a that is an endorsement.
Okay, you want to hear some really dumb shit? You know that Konami published a version of King's Quest V? Could you imagine playing all of that on your fucking NES?
No, I can't. Yeah. Absolutely not.
I mean, here Nightshade is at least more appropriate to the platform, and not all the right ways. They tried, and if you have some point and click interests, so should you. You should give it a shot.
Okay, I'll try it myself. I don't even know anything about it. I'm gonna cheat right now and put two of them together because they're the same series, which is Gargoyle's Quest and Demon's Crest. I think a lot of people have heard of the SNES Demon's Crest. That's actually the third in the series. Now with Game Boy, Nintendo Switch Online, Gargoyle's Quest is on there. You know, if you've ever, for anyone who doesn't know, they star the Red Reamer, that red devil that whoops your ass in any Ghosts and Goblins game, Ghouls and Ghosts game, however you want to say it. You get to play as that thing. Now you are the ass whooper. I think they're really fun games. They're very different from each other. Obviously, one's for Game Boy, one's for SNES. Like I said, Demon's Crest is the third game in the series. If you're really gonna play one, go play Demon's Crest. It's one of the most, Steve, I think you'll agree with me, it's one of the most beautiful 16-bit games that there possibly can be.
Oh, Demon's Crest looks great. I'm a bit sad that they kind of gave up after this. Maybe they just didn't have any more in them after that.
Do you really want to see a PS1 Demon's Crest 4? Like, that probably would have looked like ass. I don't think they...
Yeah, it was probably the better idea for them to just continue with Mega Man.
Yeah, I can see like an N64 one working, but yeah. And Gargoyle's Quest, for being like an early Game Boy game, yeah, it's tough, but now you can cheat. That's why I'm recommending it to you. You can play it straight up if you want that old school difficulty, and it is very attainable to do once you die a bunch. But if not, go have a ball. Go rewind and save state to your heart's content. You will have a ball with either one of these games. Demon's Crest is a lot easier to play, but still, both games are very worthy.
Yeah, Gargoyle's Quest is great. I played it on a Game Boy Virtual Console a million years ago, and I should probably give it another shot now.
Go ahead. You got one more game before break. One more recommendation.
Yeah, and that's going to be MUSHA. It's back when the Sega app launched and everyone was all, you can just buy the cartridge and get all of these games on there already, except for Contra and Castlevania and there was Strider and this that weren't on other ways to get on Switch. And guys, MUSHA is great. You have this, it's a shooter game. You're a mech that turns into a plane that's part of a squad. They try to do a story, but all that really matters is you're the last one. Go kill all the guys through a bunch of really hard as fuck levels. But it's not completely unfair. You'll eventually figure it out, and you have unlimited continues. Although I will, if anyone from back in the day is going to tell me, oh, I beat MUSHA without ever cheating or using this,
please,
or using the Game Genie or whatever. There is no fucking way you did that with that last part without cheating. I had to liberally apply some save points and use some rewind to do that very last stage. The boss in particular, just some real bullshit there, but it's a heck of a lot of fun to play otherwise.
Yeah, you can cheat, so cheat. I've never been much of a MUSHA person. I don't think I ever played a Genesis one though, so maybe I'll give it a shot here. Okay, those are our personal recommendations. Go ahead and try them out. You'll see what you think. If your tastes happen to align with either one of ours, like on the show in general, you'll probably like these, so check them out. On the other side of this break, we are going to talk about games that we don't like very much. Be right back. We're back, and we're going to do our favorite thing, bitching about games that we don't like. We do that a lot in Fine Time, so we're gonna do that some more. What do you say, Steve?
If the shoe fits, as I feel it does in our choices.
Yeah, there's just, so basically I wanted this to be like not just games that are just bad, like, but games that people tend to like, where I'm just like, I don't get it. So not just things that I think are just terrible, although we might have a little bit of that too. So I want to start with one that I just don't get, and it's Dynamite Headdy. We see Dynamite Headdy on anytime there's a Genesis compilation of any type, Nintendo Switch Online, the one for Switch, the Sonic's collection for 360, any of that shit. Genesis Mini, it's Dynamite Headdy is on there too. Steve, I don't understand. I don't get the big deal about this game. I think it's fucking K. Like, and I'm being nice by even saying that.
You know, I played it finally on the Switch collection, and I thought it was okay. I mean, it's obviously made by Treasure. They don't let you forget it. It's all over the fucking place.
Yeah.
I mean, he loses his head and it turns into other things, and then towards the end it doesn't really work out anyway. Yeah, I don't know. It's just,
oh, you got to the end? I'm so bored by the like 4 or 5 levels. I just can't. I don't want to play anymore. I'm over it. It's one of those games. It's like I say about Beautiful Joe. I'm over the gameplay in like 10 minutes, and then there's like nothing else left there to hook me. So it's like, I just don't want to play anymore.
Oh, I never finished it, but I made it to the end and I ran out of continues. I'm like, you know what? That's enough Dynamite Headdy. I don't need to play this anymore.
Okay. Sorry, Treasure, if you're listening, we're going to have to hurt another one of your babies.
Yeah, and I don't think you guys really brought this fully to term either. It's Alien Soldier. I mean, I paid $9 for this on Virtual Console back in the day. And,
me too.
Because, oh man, Treasure, and it's kind of like Gunstar Heroes, but more intense. I'm like, okay, I could be about this. And you run ahead with the eagle with guns for a few feet, and then you die. And you do this again and again.
Okay. I hate to toot our own horn. We're experienced gamers, okay? We beat a lot of hard games. We beat Ghost Goblins games. We beat all sorts of things, right? Legit. Because we kind of, I don't want to say pride ourselves on it, but we like playing those tough things. I'm no stranger to hard games. Alien Soldier doesn't make any sense to me. I feel like every time I play it, I'm just missing something. It's like, what do they want me to do here to not die in 3 minutes? Then doesn't get it. Anyone who's in our camp that plays games the way we do, Steve, nobody I know understands it.
I feel like the people that are looking forward to it were like us back in 2008 and like, oh boy, we sure have read about this a bunch of times, but never turned it on.
Yeah. Sorry. I just don't understand. Look, I know you like this game more than I do, but Joe and Mac 2, like I tolerated the first one. It's fine. It's a little bitchy sometimes, but it's not like super bad, and it's over in like 45 minutes, so whatever, right? Joe and Mac 2, it's like one of those classic SNES, and specifically, I think this is an SNES problem, especially late in its life, where they just try to outthink the room. They did too much. Joe and Mac 2 adds like a, you know, there's like a town, and you got to do this and that, and you can go to this level or that level. It's like, no, just give me the levels in order and I can beat them and the game's over. You didn't need to do this to Joe and Mac, a game I didn't really like that much in the first place.
But Andre, the production values, we got to pretend we have production values by slapping RPG elements in there. All the cool kids are doing it.
Oh my God, it just didn't Super Adventure Island 2 also do this? It just tried to do like way too much.
Was that Super Adventure Island 2? One of them did that.
I feel like it was, because the original, I think Super Adventure Island is just a straight up Adventure Island game front to back. I think 2 tried to get like action adventure with it. And it's like, guys, I really didn't want this from it.
I mean, for all of its problems, I can't hate Joe and Mac 2, especially when Congo's Caper is on here. And I was looking forward to Congo's Caper because, unlike Andre, I like Joe and Mac. I mean, they're not perfect, but I got them for the first one for cheap on Super NES back in the day. I had my fun with it a lot, and I rented Joe and Mac 2 once, and finally finishing it when it hit the launch of the Super Nintendo Switch Online app was, it was getting some sort of closure for me. But then you started hearing about Congo's Caper, which Japan calls Joe and Mac 2 for some reason, and I'm not going to get into all that right now.
I had no idea.
And then Joe and Mac 2 is Joe and Mac 3 there, and again, no one has time.
Oh my God.
This is miserable. This is not fun. I don't know why they thought this was okay when you already had a working caveman game. Again, Prehistoric Man is on this thing, and that is bad. This is not as bad as Prehistoric Man, but I can't recommend Congo's Caper. I was looking forward to this too. It's like playing the up-resed version of the NES version of Joe and Mac, if that makes any sense. Like, so much more basic in comparison. Even though there was an NES version of Joe and Mac, may we never see it again.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with Congo's Caper. It's almost like, you know how like From Software, they're into something and they make a game almost exactly like it, but they call it something else, like Bloodborne, right? Or like, what's that? They made like a fake Armored Core game for Dreamcast. I can't remember what it's called, but it was just like, why didn't you just call it Armored Core? That's what it is. That's what Congo's Caper feels like. It's like, okay, it's just Joe and Mac. Why didn't you just make a Joe and Mac game? Weird. Anyway, one of these days, I want somebody to look me in the face, straight in the eyes, and tell me that Altered Beast is actually a good game, because it's not. And I don't want to hear, oh, it came with my Genesis and I loved it when I was a kid. No, that's not a reason to like think something's good. Oh, my dad gave it to me his birthday. No, that's not a reason to think something's good. I want you to tell me it's a good game to my face and you believe it in your heart of hearts. Oh, you had to be there at the time. Okay, dog, I'm 40 years old. I was there at the time. It wasn't good then, and it's not good now. It never has been good at any point in human history. Altered Beast sucks.
I wasn't there at the time, although I did play this a few times. I tried to give it a try, but I can tell you for a fact that the best part of the game is when the digitized voice goes, "Rise from your grave," and then you can turn it off after that. That's the best part of the game. It's funny. It's funny as hell, and then you're done. That's the best. That's the greatest thing Altered Beast has to offer.
I like the interpolation swap between the man's face and the werewolf face when you transform. That's okay. About it.
I mean, that's okay, but then you'd have to actually play the game for 3 minutes, and that's agony.
Oh, it's terrible. It's such a bad game, Steve. I don't understand.
I don't either. You're a sprite that's way too big for the screen, and then you're expected to platform, but not very well, and
it scrolls so slow. I don't mind that it's auto-scrolling, but god damn, if you're going to have a slow auto-scrolling game like that, which is fine, you got to be more interesting. Like, Jesus Christ.
I never played it in the arcade. Was this bad in the arcade too?
It looks better, but no, it doesn't play any better. It's better graphics.
Because I'm just remembering this ad that circulated on my YouTube feed a while ago where you could get all these arcade cabinets in your house. And there's like there's this kid in high school with like all these cabinets in this house. Or you could play them all on the Sega Genesis.
Hey, that was the selling point of the system. Honestly, it sounds goofy now and it is funny, but like it's true. Oh, I can play Gain Ground at home. I can play, hey, those are the best arcade ports you could have at the time. They were definitely better than the NES ones. So, it's goofy. It is goofy now to look at. It's funny. But anyway, tell me another one you dislike.
Man, I wanted to like Winback so bad. It was the one third-party game at launch of the Nintendo 64 and Nintendo Switch Online app. And I'm like, you know what? This is probably a hidden gem. I remember seeing it in magazines back when. This is probably going to be good. Everyone's saying, "Oh no, Winback," is like they're probably wrong. I don't know. I just don't get it. I feel like I needed another stick or something.
I am a Winback liker, and I would never recommend this game to anybody else. You have to be a certain type of person to enjoy this, even at the time. And it had its fans at the time too. There's a reason why it's on here, right? But I think it holds up okay. Even at the time, though, it felt a little jank. It was never like, oh, this is the pinnacle. It wasn't like Splinter Cell before Splinter Cell, right? I don't know. I think it's fine for what it is. I totally get why you don't like it, though. I would never say you're wrong for saying that.
I think I got through 2 or 3 levels of it. I just feel like the game isn't quite finished. And I found out later on that they made a PS2 version. You ever tried that one? Is that any better?
No, that's actually worse. In my opinion, I don't think it's any better. It feels like they just kind of did the same thing, which on PS2, that's like really unacceptable. If you thought it was unacceptable for N64 standards, just like, oof, no. So in my opinion, I think you're better off sticking with N64.
But now I have to step into some really known shit now because Alone in the Dark, the new Nightmare, was the odd man out on the Game Boy Nintendo Switch Online lineup, and of all the games you could have picked for a third party representation to go along with Gargoyle's Quest. I can't say this came out in 2001, like just before or just after Game Boy Advance. It had to be. I can only imagine. No one played this game in 2001, and if you did, you're full of if you say you did, you're full of shit.
I had Alone in the Dark, the new Nightmare on Dreamcast, so that's how I was getting down.
Is that what they did? They did too the same thing, but it's a different game.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, it's been too long since I played that Dreamcast game to know how close this one is to it, but probably, yeah.
In this particular case, you have to very much use the display in original resolution in order to actually see shit. Otherwise, it's just blobs on more blobs.
They're trying to do, for reference, they're trying to do the Resident Evil thing of like static backgrounds that you move around in space, in 3D space, I mean. But like on Game Boy Color, so you can imagine how messy that gets real quick.
And it's still muddy, even when you do that. It's just, I think I made it about an hour and a half of exploring the courtyard and exploring the mansion or manor or whatever. Especially when there's just sudden music breaks whenever you pick up a thing. I'm like, okay, it's just a key. Like calm your tits.
All right, Steve, want to know a secret?
What's that?
I really like this Alone in the Dark, the New Nightmare on Game Boy Color.
Oh, please illuminate me on why that might be.
I like it. I'm serious. I'm not doing a bit. I actually really like this. I think it's fun.
Do you now?
Yeah, like, okay, look, yeah, the graphics are a bit muddy. I think you need to, now look, I understand we're playing on a TV, but you got to cut it a little slack for like being a Game Boy Color game. This isn't its intended resolution, first of all.
Sure, if I rub Vaseline on the portable and squint really hard.
Oh, shut up. Ask Kevin to go send you one of his millions of Game Boy Colors that you know he has, and you will admit that it looks better on there. But regardless, I'm playing on the TV. I didn't turn down I didn't squash the screen size, and I played it just as is. After hearing your comments, which were admittedly funny, because when you tried it before me, and you were complaining to me, oh, God. Honestly, as like a Resident Evil clone on a handheld. And even, I'm not even saying, because you know me, I don't like knock off points because something's on a handheld. I don't say, oh, it's good for an indie game. Oh, it's good for this. No, something should be a good game, straight up. And I honestly do think Alone in the Dark Game Boy Color is like worth playing. I do. It's just Resident Evil. Oh, find the key over here. Okay, here's a battle on this like isometric plane for no reason. Did you like the fight scenes, by the way? That was weird.
Oh yeah, that was real fun. Oh no, there's some pigeons. Go shoot them. Pew pew.
No, but like for real, I honestly thought this was okay. I know you're staring at me like I have three heads, but I'm serious. I actually really did like this.
Yeah, I don't see the guy from THQ Nordic standing behind you, so I guess you're telling the truth.
Like, so sorry. I was actually gonna tip you off. Usually, if we're gonna be opposed on something, it's like, oh, just wait till you hear my thoughts on this. But no, I kept this a secret because I wanted you to be disappointed in me in real time.
Oh, don't worry. I'm disappointed in you in real time, but
okay.
But it's up to you to play Alone in the Dark: The New Nightmare for Game Boy Color on your own time. I'm certainly never touching it again.
Okay. We wanted to also not just give recommendations and talk about the games we liked and games we've been playing. We wanted to go in defense of one thing. Because there are games out there that not everyone, that are divisive or people shit on for one reason or another. And we wanted to give those games their props, the props that we feel like they deserve. So I'll go first, I guess. So I want to stand in defense right now of Yoshi's Story. There are plenty of people who like Yoshi's Story. And I actually, you know what? I don't know your thoughts on Yoshi's Story, but I'll get them at the end here. I have no idea what you think of Yoshi's Story. We've never talked about this game between each other. Besides the obvious points that are great about Yoshi's Story, like the fantastic animation, like the pre-renders are detailed to a point that is excellent. It's the best pre-render jobs Nintendo has ever done. And the music is excellent by Kazumi Totaka, doing his very famous leitmotif. We're going to just put this through the whole game in a million different forms. I'm going to correct what I think is a fatal mistake people make when it comes to Yoshi's Story. Yoshi's Story is a Yoshi game. Yoshi's Island is a Mario game. I don't think it's called Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island for no reason. I don't think they did that just for marketing. It is a Mario game in which you are predominantly riding Yoshi as Baby Mario. But that's a Mario game through and through. Yoshi's Story is a Yoshi game, meaning that is the first game of its type. And you've noticed this type has been followed up on with like Yoshi's Woolly World or Yoshi's Crafted World, right? That type of game. You wouldn't call those Mario games. So we shouldn't consider Yoshi's Story 1, 2. Now, I know that when Yoshi's Story was first shown, it was called Yoshi's Island 64. Obviously, they changed the name to Yoshi's Story because, you know, it didn't really fit that moniker anymore. And I think, you know, if it had come out as that name, I probably would have been really disappointed because, you know, I would have been expecting a sequel to that game, and rightfully so. But that's not what this is. It's a score attack game, Yoshi's Story. You can have as much difficulty or not as you want in a very organic manner. And I've talked about this before when talking about how organic Nintendo games can feel as far as difficulty. You push yourself to what you want to be in the game. You could, because there's 30, you could go hardcore route and only eat the 30 melons in each level and get the high score possible, or you get as many melons as you want. Or, you know, if you're a kid and you don't care, just gobble up 30 fruit real quick and beat the level. You know, you choose that for yourself. And I think that is so brilliant. It feels great to explore these levels and find not just secrets, but find different ways to up that value, that score, in a way that satisfies you and nobody else but you, because the game doesn't pressure you to do anything else but that. And look, I get it. That probably wasn't people's expectation, especially from a 2D Yoshi game in 1997.
8 for us.
Okay, 8 for us. And that's fine. And look, if you don't like Yoshi's Story on its own merits, fine. Don't dislike it because it's not Yoshi's Island 2, because it was never supposed to be that. Don't compare a Yoshi game to a Mario game. If you like Woolly World or you like Crafted World, there's no reason not to like Yoshi's Story. That's how I feel about it. Now that I've said that, 1, what do you think about what I said? Is that fair? 2, what are your actual thoughts on Yoshi's Story? Because I genuinely do not know them.
1, I think Yoshi's Island is a Yoshi game. You're not going to talk me back from that.
It's not. It's a Mario game. It's not a Yoshi game. You do Mario things in Yoshi's Island. You don't do Mario things in Yoshi's Story.
I mean, in that way, wouldn't Woolly World also be a Mario game?
No,
due to following a more linear level structure.
I don't think so.
Which is,
I mean, Crafted World does that too, but that's not the only reason that sets Yoshi's Story. Regardless, that's another topic. But see, what do you think of Yoshi's Story?
I appreciate it more now than I did in '98. I didn't hate it back then, but you're asking a lot of the. I feel like you're asking a lot of the player to. You said that you're making a lot of decisions, and I feel like the game asks the player to make too many of their own decisions in order to make the challenge for themselves. Like the level ends when you eat 30 of any fruit, and I feel like, and the only real challenge there is in that is if you, and it's a self-imposed one of seeking the melons, of which there's only 30 of, and that's good, but I feel like there could have been more to it than that. And the thing I still don't like to this day is that there's only the 12 levels, and you don't even play them all in a row. You just you play 1-1 or 2-1 or 3-1 and 4-1, and then you do that. I mean,
let's play 3-4 and then 5-3, right? Yeah, it's strange, right? The storybook idea of it.
It just didn't feel necessary. I mean, like, this is like the weirdest picture book ever. Like, you could have had a picture book with the right amount of pages and used all those and still had the same idea in the end.
Here's the problem, though. You can't play 24 levels of Yoshi's Story in a row. That's like way too much Yoshi's Story, right? So you kind of have to like carve your own path through it. Okay, this time I'll pick this level and that level, because like you don't want that much Yoshi. That's too much Yoshi.
No such thing. But even if there was, I don't know. I understand everyone's criticism with it, but
I do too.
I like it more now than I did then. But they don't make him like that anymore. there's a reason why they opted for something more traditional after that.
Sure.
Except for, Yoshi's Topsy-Turvy World. Fuck that game.
I forgot that existed. But yeah, that's how I feel about Yoshi's Story. I think if you didn't like it in the past, give it another shot today. It's not a Mario game. It's a Yoshi game. That's all I gotta say. Steve, why don't you stand in defense of something? Although, I don't know. Never mind. I'm not gonna blow it. You say it.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about Banjo-Kazooie, another third-party game on the N64, which feels weird to say that, but it is technically, because I'm not going to get into all that. You all know the story if you're listening to us. But unlike Yoshi's Story, this was popular in 1998. Why would this be unpopular now? Well, we don't make, much like Yoshi's Story, unlike where that was one and done, we don't make what we would call a collect-a-thon anymore. And yeah, I get it. Oh, there's too much shit in every level. Oh, go find the puzzle pieces and the music notes and the Jinjos. Mumbo might be in this level. He's going to help you transform into an animal, so you got to go find his token. And I get it. How it could feel like less of a game and more like going to the store. But I feel like there's a lot of fun in just exploring these biodomes of levels, especially in the castle itself, which is its own character. The music helps. Grant Kirkhope, we all love him. And then we have a rhyming antagonist. That's fun too. I know that didn't translate into Japanese, but we all had fun with that. It's a very valuable time capsule into what this kind of game was in 1998, because especially in 1998, because they definitely got out of hand with it a year later with Donkey Kong 64, which I think still might have a record for one of the most things that you absolutely have to collect to finish a game. And then Banjo-Tooie wasn't quite as bad with it, but there's still way too much shit to collect.
Are you saying that the reputations of those two games have tarnished Banjo-Kazooie?
I don't know if they have, but I think they all get grouped together because it was the first, and I still don't see. Well, I do see, but I mean, it's Mario 64 with more stuff to do. And when you're a kid like me, and you can't afford all the video games in the world, and certainly only the one console, a longer game like Banjo-Kazooie, where you have lots of stuff to find, it goes a long way and is going to ingrain in your memory better. And this is a valuable look at that. And besides the other point of, if they weren't on here, you'd deal with everybody every time there's an update. Give us Banjo-Kazooie and GoldenEye. Give us Banjo-Kazooie and GoldenEye. Give us Banjo-Kazooie and GoldenEye. Well, assholes, you know what? They're both here. Come up with something else.
They don't have anything else, and they're not playing these either, and you know it.
Well, as you might recall, it was a fairly early episode where I did play Banjo-Kazooie and came to a much longer, similar conclusion. So there's that.
I think you honestly hit upon the other side of the coin I was talking about with Yoshi's Story, is that, like, me, I don't like 3D platformers. I like Mario. And I think Mario platformers do something that no other 3D platformers of its type do well. And I don't want to get into all that. That's an entirely different discussion. But I think what you're hitting upon is being motivated to do what the game wants you to do. Whereas, like, I don't care. I don't care how many stupid things I collect. I don't want to go around and collect these puzzle pieces. Like, I'm just not motivated. Yoshi's Story, you could easily do the same thing. Well, I can just gobble 30 fruit real quick and beat this game in an hour and beat all these levels, right? You're not really motivated because the game doesn't motivate you to do so. Whereas Banjo-Kazooie, with all this stuff, all the funny gibberish each character speaks in, the rhyming, which I find obnoxious, the sense of humor, which I find obnoxious. So like, maybe it's just not for me, right? The game is trying to motivate you to do this stuff, but I just don't care. Whereas like Yoshi's Story is like, you know what? You can do whatever you want. And then most people are like, okay, I'll just do nothing.
Yeah, that's the balance they didn't quite find just yet. We're still feeling our way around the technology. They're working on it.
Yep.
I mean, it speaks a lot that they made a new company, Playtonic, and they made Ukulele, and a very very few people will admit to liking it. Like they made a side-scrolling follow-up that everyone likes a lot more.
Because it's Tropical Freeze, another game people overrate, but whatever. I really like Tropical Freeze. Before anyone gets down my throat, I just don't want to. People are saying, "Oh, this is the best 2D platformer ever," and I'm like, "Calm down, shut up."
I hate to play that again. I haven't in years. Anyway,
you don't have it on Switch?
I do. I haven't played it on there lately or at all.
We're getting near the end here. Let's just blow through some stuff we want to see on there. If you've listened to our previous ones of these on our previous Creative Endeavor, you know some of the ones we're going to say because they still haven't appeared. Mock Rider, give it to us.
Yeah, I had no idea this was not on there because I'm checking shit on the show to make sure I didn't miss anything. I'm like, where the fuck is Mock Rider? It has to be here.
It's not.
They've been trotting it out on Virtual Console forever, so, I mean, where is Mock Rider?
Yeah, give it to me. 3D Hot Rally, give it to me. Of course, that would only be on the Famicom side. I'll play the shit out of that. Panic Restaurant, give it to me. You know, and there's a semi in defense of Super Double Dragon. People shit on this game a lot. I really like Super Double Dragon, and Steve, you know, I hate 16-bit console beat-em-ups. You know I do. I really like Super Double Dragon. And more specifically, we could get Return of Double Dragon if it comes out on the Super Famicom side, because for once, they gave Super Double Dragon to us first in the US, so we got the crappier version. And the Japanese version is like fixed, if you will. There's a lot of stuff added to it. Did you know that?
Yeah, I think that came up when they reissued the cartridge a while back, but I didn't know that's how that happened.
Yeah, it's the Japanese version that gets cycled around. But and again, HAL Laboratory, are you out there? Air Fortress, Hyperzone, Arcana, Metal Slater Glory. I know those only came out in Japan. Alcahest, give them to us. I'll load up those apps and play them. I can read a little Japanese now. I can probably get by. Come on.
Hey, I'll jump on the HAL train for you. Special T-Shot, that was canceled on Super Nintendo, reworked into Dream Course. I know Andre doesn't like Dream Course. I don't think.
Not.
I love Dream Course, and I know it's gotten a lot of more fans ever since it hit Virtual Console and things. But this had an abbreviated Satellaview release, and they found the prototype of this a while ago, and this had a box.
Wow.
This game has to be sitting in the vault.
It's got to be there somewhere.
Okay,
so I've heard of Special T-Shot, but when you first mentioned this, I thought you were talking about that other HAL golf game that came out like really early in the SNES's life. You know what the fuck I'm talking about?
Well, I had to do some research, and then, yes, I did find HAL's Hole-in-One Golf, which was a very more traditional golf game, programmed by Satoru Iwata, and watching a few minutes of that, it was like a 16-bit version of the 8-bit golf games like NES Open Tournament, but made by HAL and without Nintendo's publishing it.
Yeah, give us the HAL games. That's what we're really missing here. I have no idea why these games are missing.
And still on the HAL train. Guys, we got the Game Boy systems now. Give me the pinball games. Revenge of the Gator, Kirby's Pinball Land, and Pokemon Pinball Ruby and Sapphire. They're all winners. Give them to me.
Ruby Sapphire Pinball is that the one I played?
That was on Game Boy Advance, so maybe.
That is the one I played. Okay, yeah, that's the one I thought was stupendous. The Game Boy Color one is fine. The Game Boy Advance one is excellent.
They're all winners. And speaking of companies, what the heck's Rare doing? I know they're with Microsoft, but you gave us Banjo and you gave us GoldenEye. And I'm not looking for the rest of the N64 catalog per se, maybe Blast Corps, but where's the NES catalog? There's Slalom, Captain Skyhawk, Solar Jetman. Rare did a lot of work on the NES in particular. Where are those?
Bro, I say it all the fucking time. Rare's best games are on the NES. Once you get past NES, kind of slim pickings. But their NES stuff, baby, legendary shit. Just absolutely legendary shit. You don't even have to mention Battletoads, a game I don't even think is that good, or like, you know what I mean? Like some of their other bigger hits to see that. Rare stuff on NES is great.
I didn't mention Battletoads on purpose. Don't tell everyone at home. Shh.
Okay. Don't tell everyone it's not that good.
It's okay at best.
Kinda.
But speaking of things that are okay, Guys, I want Lufia 1 and 2 on here. 2 more than 1, but they're okay RPGs in retrospect, really, I'm sure, but it's embarrassing that Sega has more RPGs on these apps than Super Nintendo does. I know Super Famicom has more of them, but I can't read them.
I guess I would try a Lufia if it came on. It's got to be better than Breath of Fire, right?
Oh, I don't know about that, but I mean, what would? Oh
no,
I don't know. I like Breath of Fire, kind of. That's the thing. So
okay,
I can't inform your tastes, but something I'm pretty sure you would like if they came out. Mystical Ninja games, please. There's in North America in particular, we got one good one on Super NES and 2 good ones on N64. Come on,
I've never played one. I would definitely play those if they came out.
I haven't played the second one on N64, but everyone says it's good, but I did play those other
That's
two
the
ones.
2D one, right? The 2D platform.
They made it 2D all of a sudden on 64 after having a full 3D one, the first one. But everyone's pretty positive on all of them in general. There's a shitty Game Boy one too. Please don't give us that one. I paid $3 for that a decade ago on Virtual Console. I want it back.
Yep.
Also, Pulseman. Why haven't we seen that in forever? They put it out on Virtual Console however long ago, and now we might have another show in the future, and now we have to cheat to play it. Come on, Game Freak, Sega, work your shit out.
What do you want to bet? The 3 games this month are Mendel's Palace and Pulseman and Smart Ball.
Right? Oh, okay. So Smart Ball's impossible because I think Sony's using it as a coaster, but those other 2 are very possible.
Yeah.
And just one last thing I want to bring up real quick. Mole Mania. Kevin gave me a hard time for it the other week, but it's one of my favorite Game Boy games, at least one that doesn't have Pokemon, Zelda, or Wario in the name. I like it's a fun maze game where you're a mole and you go above the ground and you go under the ground to beat up enemies and solve puzzles. And there's an angry farmer guy who's the bad guy. I'm like, why wasn't that included in coming soon? It's probably going to come out by the end of the year, probably, but why wasn't it there?
Do you think it would have sold a few more copies if it was called Monty Mole?
Probably not.
Okay.
Maybe.
Because I would have been more interested.
I don't know. I know the character's name is Muddy Mole, and I only know that because the 3DS shop told me that, because I always called him Monty Mole.
It's Monty Mole. All right, well, that's it. That's it for us for now. We'll be back again some other time, but until then, join us on Twitter at Find Time Podcast. Look in the description of this podcast to find our names on social media as well. See you next time, guys. Bye.